When the day begins, your thoughts are of the best intentions. How can you make this day the best it can be? You wonder, what will this day bring? Your family awaits you in the distance, coaxing you to run to them and join them in some early morning shenanigans. This is what families do. Off to the fields to dream of being an airplane pilot or an astronaut. Whatever you want to be, it's your imagination, and it can take you anywhere. Run to the lake to join everyone in a game of tag or hide and seek. Celebrate your victories, dancing around foolishly in celebration antics. Chase down your family at the beach, fling kites, feeling the ocean's breeze hit your face. Being a child is an amazing experience. There are many children who have had this experience taken away from them by CPS. They will never feel the attachment to family the way they should. They are being robbed of life's precious experiences, and people are allowed. As the sun sets slowly, and so many are anticipating the new day with their family, there are so many others laying there wishing that they could be with their own families. This torture needs to be stopped. These children will wake up alone and fight the world by themselves instead of surrounded by the family God gave them. We must abolish CPS and stop neglecting children who once enjoyed living with a family of their own. Studies show we are destroying these children, not helping.
That's me in the very beginning. Now I am a baby and getting zoomed from my mom to my birthday. I don't remember a lot about my younger life, but I remember it was fun and I felt so safe. My mom and dad always happy. I guess my mom's sister was mad that my dad was so great, so she called the police and said he hit my mom. We were all reading and they came. I heard my dad yelling, "There's no way." My mom was crying loudly. Some lady took us away. The court said my parents abused and neglected us. They only loved us. The caseworker lied. I never saw my parents again. I'm still hoping one day they come. I am a victim of CPS and so are my parents. We need to find justice in all of this madness for all of us that are being abused. It's not fair. Every kid I know has a mom and dad. I know they miss me. I bet they fight every day for me to come home.
Don't get caught like us. Know your rights.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and AbolishCPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
All right, everybody, welcome to CPS Victims Hunting Justice on this Tuesday night. I am your host, the CPS Punisher. We welcome you all to here. We're currently waiting for Mr. Bain to sign in. We just had him on the Tip and the Punisher show. I'm going to go ahead and try to send him another link here. Maybe he just didn't get the link or something's going on for him on his side. I don't know. I haven't heard from him yet. But as all of you are faithful and are awesome viewers, I was thinking that maybe every day, I'm trying to figure out the way to do it, but every day, if you put your name, I don't know how to do that, but I want to give away a copy of the digital book every day to people out here to try to, I'll give you the PDF copy that you can read from your computer to, viewers of the show. I just don't know how we could collect that, do it randomly, but I don't know. Maybe by name or nickname. Maybe if you put that in the comments below, put your name or your nickname in there, and every day we'll choose a person randomly that's in those comments below, and we'll send you guys the copy of the book. It'll be the PDF downloaded version, but at least it's a version. So, below here, guys, just write your name or your nickname or whatever you guys want to go by, and we will make sure that we get you a PDF version of my book, Stay Calm, CPS is Coming. I'm going to go back to trying to get Mr. Bain on here with us. Right now, I'm going to leave it on with the top three here with Vinny Gunn, Mr. Herbay. You guys can chat it up while I'm trying to get a hold of our man over here, Mr. Bain.
Absolutely. I just got it all shared out, so we're golden.
All right, cool. Well, you guys take the controls. I'll be back momentarily.
Awesome. How we doing, guys?
Who are we gonna piss off today?
Well, I know I'm pissing a lot of people off the past week or two.
Oh yeah, I gotta love that whole thing when we stand on case law and use some common damn sense. And if this is going on and that's going on, but wait a minute, aren't you concealing a federal crime by doing this?
I mean, in my case, they're getting mad now to the point where they're trying to threaten to CPR us. But what they don't realize is, well, I got them by the ass fully around because they definitely have more than violated jurisdiction. The AAG, which is their attorney.
Go ahead, keep going, but I got one for you here in a minute. Let me look it up here. Matter of fact, I just covered that.
Well, the AAG, their attorney, has not responded to my attorney on jurisdiction. And I wonder why, because they never had jurisdiction to begin with, because jurisdiction's always been in Cumberland County.
Let me give one to you. 42 USC code subsection 12203 is prohibiting you against retaliation and for standing up for your constitutional rights. Due process, or the whole process you're going from, is your constitutional right to due process.
Did you say 12203?
12203, 42 USC subsection 12203. Prohibition against retaliation and coercion. If you're trying to retaliate due to the fact that you're retaliating, why? I exercise my constitutional rights, and this is what you're trying to punish me with. Matter of fact, that's a felony. And those are things called sanctions on attorneys when they pull that shit, especially when they put it in writing, or we're going to do this, this, and that, or CPS is a government agency. You can actually issue sanctions against CPS. under that particular USC code. See, knowledge is power. You wanted to what? You took my kids because of this particular thing. If we're coming to find out all of it's bullshit and they're interconnected, you've got no fucking, not a leg to stand on. And to threaten me because I'm trying to get rid of my case or go through due process, that's a fucking violation. And I would send them a letter. You are now, and if you have that in writing, they're trying to do that, I'd send that over. Thank you. You just took and committed this particular code. We will be reporting this to the Department of Justice and the Bar Association and your state and everybody else for review. You just committed a fucking felony by intimidating me. Now we're going to do this. We can't do nothing until the other case, because one goes hand in foot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that goes for every case in any court, no matter if you're in traffic court or anything else that you're in there, CPS court, family court. This applies all the time. Why? It's a USC code. The judges are required to follow these things. If they don't, they've broken the law, and they shouldn't be sitting on the damn bench.
I just
Which is why they need to be gone.
I
You're
just
not
sent it
right
off
to
to
the
Richard.
Constitution. Matter
I
of
just
fact,
sent,
what's that?
I just sent it to Richard and Allison.
Listen, here's another case law for you. Never been done. Ex parte Milligan, 71 U.S. 2. Dates all the way back to 1866. You ain't going to find this on your computer, folks. This is in the books. States, no legislative, executive, or any of the branch or judicial branch of government can dismiss the Constitution at any time. Oh, so you know the fancy term that they like to use on that? And Darren, I hope you're getting this one, because this one happened to mine, to where they take and we're dismissing the Constitution, and we're just going to roll past your, hey, we had a Fourth Amendment right violation. We had this violation in our case. We needed to stop. As soon as you took and did that, you can't, this tells them right here is the particular code that comes under there with the ex parte Milligan of saying you're required to. Darren, we need to turn the background music down.
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't have settings, guys, right now. Something happened to the thing.
I think we're having.
Gunner, I can hear you. Yeah, Gunner, your voice is over the background music. I can hear you perfectly.
Well, maybe I'm just closer to my mic, but she's saying she's getting too much on her side on the receiving end.
Yeah.
Remember, we have the studio version.
I hear you over the music. And
is that better? He made an adjustment.
You're coming across perfectly.
Yeah.
Well,
your voice is coming across perfectly.
Yeah, but Herbert, they're watching on YouTube. We're on the restream.
Yeah. So that's why it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, Sharon, let me know if it's better, if it needs to go down more. Thanks, guys. The biggest thing is the Constitution does that for this. What we're talking about is the Chevron doctrine has done so much damage. And this is why it's so important to have good judges at a federal level, but at the same time, to have good people on the state level to respect that Constitution enough that they're going to follow. Here's why. When you're gray in this area, that means somebody else could be gray something else in another area. Now, we've already seen this as far as our Second Amendment rights and people, carry and everything else. Whether we like it or not, the Constitution provides that if you want a gun, that you're allowed to have a gun. Nothing to do with training. There was nothing said there about training, licensing, or anything else. It's a fundamental right. And that is going to come up in this next administration, definitely with the Second Amendment, because they're going to push for it. It's the Second Amendment. Why are we questioning it? When you have people with a mindset like CPS to go into a federal courtroom before SCOTUS to ask the question why they can't hire actors to steal children, it just blows my mind. Why are these people even alive? Why are they even doing what they're doing to even ask a question like that? It's a direct retaliation against the Constitution. Why can't I bear false witness against somebody to get what I want? This is why we have come too far down the little road of all of our little feelings in this over facts. We're more worried about somebody's feelings than facts. The law doesn't allow for your feelings. It doesn't care. But as soon as you get somebody to come up there that says, well, I care, but I care so much, I'm willing to disregard certain things. And there's one thing, they're gray, that goes down to a person that has a lot of personal issues as an individual. How far towards the gray that you're going over the black to now you're in the point of with CPS, you're breaking the law. You're not supposed to be doing this. You were supposed to be there as like, when I want a pizza from Domino's, I'll call fucking Domino's. CPS calls up because your neighbor turns around and says, hey, he looks hungry. He needs some Domino's. Trademark infringed. So I'm not trying to do any of that other stuff on the show, but at the same time, it's an example. It ain't my business whether my neighbor needs to realize I want to do something. I get, hey, I may be hungry and you pay for the pizza. Well, great. But that's not the case here. That's consumerism. That doesn't apply to the law in our private lives. You've got no business in my motherfucking home. That's what the Constitution says. That's a place to secure your rights, your papers, and what happens in the four walls of your house is in the four walls of your house. Unless somebody in the house, for example, was actually...
Are you referring to when a neighbor calls on you to the police or CPS? Is that what you're referring to?
That's exactly the same thing with give you an example. According to the law, the only way CPS is supposed to get involved, according to the Social Security Administration, is when you reach out and say, I want help. As a service to the public is what they have, the way they're registered, as well as or under the court. In other words, there's a criminal case involved, something involved where the law has been broken somewhere. They're supposed to come in. They have created this family court system, the states have, to generate revenue and traffic children. We don't need this. The same issue that we had was resolving disputes in contract law, which is why you have a marriage license. You don't need a marriage license to do that. When you get a marriage license, you involve the government. There's the problem. You signed up for it. When you do that, yes, you're going to go to court. Other than that, they don't hardly touch them unless the state has what's called a common law marriage that goes under so many years living together. Now, that means I'm just not recognized. You're recognized by common law or by the other people. What don't you get? Well, there's a couple of tax benefits and a few other things, but wait a minute, isn't taxes voluntary for individuals? Yes, that was proven in a court of law. So what's the benefit for me to do it? I'm not a corporate entity. There's the problem. Too many people would, well, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for Social Security, you got to do this, and it's going to be a burden upon them. That was a pass-through thing. The idea for Social Security was to turn around and give people a chance for retirement or an investment fund monitored by the government. Within, they were trading that on the market, those funds, which is based on Social Security, on whether or not things were profitable. And this
okay, could you go back to the next door neighbor? Could you go back to the next door neighbor calling? And that's where you were at. We didn't get to Social Security yet. You were talking about the situation with the next door neighbor calling on you and calling CPS.
It's all connected. There's the money part. Let me finish for a second. I'm going down there. But there's a lot of things that we have to, this is how the money comes into play. What it's trying to say is your neighbor's not ordering the pizza, you are. So your neighbor's forcing you to order a pizza, but you're paying for it. Now, it's a big difference between you're hungry or the neighbor wants to do something nice and says, hey, I'm sending over dinner, or somebody brings something over your house to eat, say when somebody passes or this. Those are nice gestures. When you're talking about an anonymous call or somebody else calling in, I never called in, is my point. The point was when I needed the services, or if I'd like the services or CPS that are not directed by the court, which is their service or public service is what it's called, they don't belong there. The problem was nobody was picking up the phone and using them when they had issues. Hey, I'm really struggling. I've got a difficult kid. Hey, I'm having trouble with the food. These are all social programs. They're government-involved programs because your neighbors and your communities are not taking care of those things anymore. Now they're in your fucking house. Hey, your house isn't nice enough. This ain't supposed to go here. That ain't supposed to go. Well, that ain't CPS's thing. That would be a building codes thing. Why is CPS doing an evaluation that is not a code enforcement officer? Oh, now we got
Why
a
did you
problem.
invite? No, why did you invite them in the house in the first place? If you need help on something, help on how to raise your children, or help on how to discipline your children, why are they in your house? No, you should go see them at their facility. They don't have to come to your house.
Howard, I'm
If
a
you're
big
asking for help for CPS, then you go to them. You don't have them come to you.
funny. Doctors don't even come to your house down no more. Why can't they? Well, CPS is supposed to be the same way. Now you see where there's boundaries. Yes, baby, I use the word boundaries. They
No,
did
the
not
CPS,
cross boundaries. They don't need to be in your house.
CPS,
They need to have a facility to bring them there, like what we used to have with Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCA's. Ever wonder why they went away? Guess who absorbed them? They were doing community-based counseling within these programs. That's what they were doing. Those were state-run, sponsored programs that were nationally done as nonprofits. Where are they all at now? Where's the Y at? Used to be back hell, the Village People wrote a song about the YMCA to where it was just like over in Europe to where you could go stay at one of the hostels. You need a place to stay, you go to the YMCA. It's gone now. It's all government regulated. They took all that damn money. That's where your money went. You wonder where Boys and Girls Clubs and some of those others went to? CPS got their money. Hello, Tammy. Steet. Okay, I'm going to have to hear the
okay,
story about
so CPS got their money, but I'm going back to the services that CPS wants to provide you for trying to raise your child.
They shouldn't be knocking on your door for any reason. That's called solicitation. And that's exactly the way the law
Okay,
looks at them. But
so
because they think they're the state, they
okay,
have, how much power do they have, Herbert, to arrest anybody?
okay. They don't have the power to make arrests. I agree. But what I'm saying is, if they get the call, the hotline anonymous call, whether it's true or not, they get that call, they have to follow up.
Not my fucking problem. Do it without coming in my house or
Right.
even bothering me. You're
Right.
trying to prove
Right.
something in
But they're gonna
support of a
come.
crime.
It's not your problem. It's not your problem. I agree with you on that. But they're still gonna knock at your door, but you don't have to let them in. They're still gonna come to your door, but you don't have to let them in.
Checking my
Here's the
application.
thing. Sharir versus Cohen, 48 F 945. For a crime to exist, civil or criminally. In other words, in civil court, that means property has been damaged. Criminal court means you've hurt another human being. There's the line between the two courts, so everybody understands is watching. How is a child property? Oh,
Criminal court's property too, by the way, Gunner. Because if you disfigure something, that's property.
Yes. The
That's
point is,
property.
the point is, say for example, like drugs. If I sell drugs which are illegal under, say, cocaine or something like that, if you were to do that and it harms somebody else, yes, you're distributing or you're doing cocaine. Now, the big thing that has come up over our law, if somebody's consuming, why are you penalizing them unless they're trying to hurt other people? And the intent of arresting them is the fact that while you're high, you're going to do something, or we know this is going to do it, and it went beyond. If I did something in my private home, that's nobody's damn business. What I choose to consume or anything else, that's the Constitution. No, it ain't nobody happens. The point is, they're in your home. There's the point.
Yes,
you're in your home. Respected boundaries of a personal private home. This is not a corporation. It's not fucking Walmart where you can walk in. Matter of fact, there's a little bit of contradiction that comes with that.
No, that's your home. That's your private home.
So why is it not respected? Is my point. The Constitution protects it.
It is.
The law protects it.
Your home is respected once you put the respect up by saying you can't come in my house.
Yes. Like I said, we're talking about a lot of things now. There was another case law. Where is this? Morris v. Dearborn, 1999. Now, this is federal case law. It's never been overturned. If it is a crime, in other words, crime for somebody to use false evidence to remove a child violates due process. So when they get a call and then they come in and do their little thing and do that, and there's no evidence, they're not supposed to be removing your child without any hard evidence. That's federal case law. Have you got evidence of a crime? This is not to be argued. They're not supposed to be taken. That particular case right there, if you've got your child missing and saying, where's the evidence? Because if you don't have evidence, we have to go through due process. Due process means a trial by jury. Uh-oh. We got a problem now, because that ties your case, because now we're not talking about property like a divorce. It's property division is what it is. It's an end of your contract between each other, and you divide. Yes, that's a civil matter. That's something that we are terminating our contract because you have a marriage license. Okay, that's why that works. But when you're coming in of saying you started this thing under false pretenses with an anonymous call or an actual call of something that has happened because they have firsthand, that means that person that called in says, I will sign on a warrant for a judge that I have firsthand experience of this. Now, it also takes 2 or more to convict you of a crime. How about that? 2 witnesses. Notice that 2 witness law. In other words, we're not going off hearsay of, well, I absolutely saw, which is why video became so prevalent. Digital, recording, this and other stuff. Those were admissible in court. But this whole crap of the hearsay matter that we have, and you're talking about taking somebody at your word and draining people of tens of thousands of dollars if you can even afford it, or they rip your damn family apart. Why you're 2 different entities? Are the children both you and hers biologically? Are you married? Are you separated? Are you, how is it stacked legally? Because if it's not legal and they can't fit you in a term, that automatically is a jurisdictional issue. Why? Because you're under common law. If you're under common law and that's not a court that deals with common law, they don't have jurisdiction. You get how that's going? That's why I'm saying when you get divorced and you don't have a license and you're not with the state, and then you try to take it into it under common law, well, is this a common law court? Most of your courts are going to say, there you challenge jurisdiction, Your Honor. If this is a common law marriage, is it a common law court? Or have you passed something along the state of saying in this state, you can be common law after so long, which also means you fall under the jurisdiction of this, and that. That goes under your state rights. If you don't like it, move to another state. I would say it would depend on the nature of your case, on what was going on, whether it was her and you, or he's just trying to go after you, but to separate you. This is what they're trying to do right there from what I'm getting, and I'm just taking this on the merit of what I'm seeing. You're married, you had they're both of yours biologically, and they're trying to treat you like 2 different entities. Why? That is a very example of proof, if there's no other underlying circumstances of it, of how CPS tries to divide families because they want you separate. They're giving you the option and her the option that if you split or get divorced, one of you has a likely chance, more likely the mother than the father, to get those children full custody. They're looking for you to turn on each other and violate that. We'll just put it this way. They're looking to get past one thing legally, and it's called marital privilege. Marital privilege means even if your husband kills somebody, murders them dead to the world, okay, goes on a killing spree, it doesn't matter. Your spouse has no legal right to testify against you. Right. And no, he's not considered a co-conspirator. Why? Marital privilege. I did nothing, but you knew about it, didn't it? Marital privilege. It gets thrown out because it deals with the sanctity of marriage, of saying there's some things that are sacred and you're not going to touch them. And the law cannot divide a marriage, because once again, that goes against freedom of religion as well, your First Amendment. Why? Because what God has brought together, let no man put asunder or tear apart or separate. That's a God law. God law is above contractual law. You can't violate it. That's one thing that they all agree on is the difference of law. God's law, common law, then it goes into trust law, and then what's below that? Darren, you're gonna have to help me here. There's
hold on, I'm
contract
trying to
law,
think.
trust law, contract law, and then you have statutes and codes. I think is the way it goes. I may be missing one.
Contract law. You have civil law, right?
That's contract law. Civil law is contract, property.
Okay, contract law.
So they're assuming when you come in for your marriage, you've had a contract and you've involved the state as a third party. You never did that with your children. One of the loopholes they tried to pull, and it has been pulled, is when your child was born in a hospital, if it didn't put foot on dirt and it's gone this far when it was born, and you allowed it to be stamped with their footprints when they were first born as an infant, they never put foot on land. There's some people that already know. Matter of fact, we have a commemorative. You ever wonder why those footprints went into that clay? That's earth.
All right, so we're getting these confused a little bit. So there's the three main types of criminal, civil, and administrative law. And then the fields vary from civil rights, corporate law, environmental law, family and juvenile law, health law, immigration law, intellectual property law. And they're created by case law, statutory law, and regulatory law. So that's the breakdown of that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as that, but when it comes higher than that, there's God's law, common law, trust law is about
you have your unalienable rights, your inalienable rights, which you were given by being born here in this country, or just being born. Period. Not even in this country, just being born. And those are what they call inalienable rights, if I'm correct, right?
So here's one that's going to hurt, and this one's going to hurt bad. Because if you figure this one out, it's going to hurt real bad. Every state has got a Dun & Bradstreet. In other words, they're incorporated or they're a corporation, right? They all have a Dun & Bradstreet number. Why? Because they have to do it to trade credit, right? Even your town, city, everything else has got a DUNS number, okay? It's incorporated. I'm going to read you this case law that's never been overturned. And this one, we were talking about this earlier. This one hurts. Because when you realize these are all business entities, corporations, whether they're the state or not, they're incorporated. They're operating outside their jurisdiction, technically, just by doing that. But listen to this. Penhallow versus Doan Administrators, 3, U.S. U.S. 54, 1 LED 57, Dall, DALL, N54, case law 1795. That's why it's different before we had the USC codes and a lot of other things before they administered that. That's how old this goes back. No corporation has jurisdiction over a natural person, a living, breathing person. So when you all incorporated, you lost your jurisdiction. And hey, Darren, I want that one in there on mine, because if you're incorporated and your Dun & Bradstreet number automatically makes you a corporation. If you can prove that in your case right there, they have no jurisdiction. You can move for an immediate dismissal. Why? Are you a corporation? Yes or no? No, we're a thing. No, the person I'm facing is a corporation. Right?
Yeah, but you need to be a real person in the courtroom. You can't be an entity.
Exactly. So I'm a natural man. No corporation has jurisdiction. If they don't have it, yes, your judges and everything else, you know why? Even your child support division, they'll put it on your credit report. Why? They have a DUNS number. Your state, if you say you want a DUNS number for that particular judge to order anything under that, would say whatever county, district court, or civil court, do they have a DUNS number for that particular thing? This is where your homework pays off. You find that DUNS number, Your Honor, I want a dismissal under this particular case law. Why? You have a DUNS number. You're a corporation. You don't have any jurisdiction. You gave up jurisdiction when you incorporated. And this is the date you incorporated as a state. On those DUN numbers, you can look them up, and it even tells you, if it's put in there, I believe properly, when their first DUN number was even issued. So you can even go back and confirm how far you've been a corporation. This is a business, people. Till you realize this is a business and how they're doing it, and you find out they're doing it, and if this dates back to 1975 and never been overturned, that means every state should be compliant with this case law. But this is what Chevron did. Let's throw case law out. You're all now, if you're a professional, case law doesn't apply to you. Now, do you see how much damage that means in you and I's life with a bad decision? Out. Which one you want, Benny? The Penhallow versus Doan case law? Okay. That goes back to 1795. Some people have made copies of it, but it's not been digitalized. Has there been a case like this with no corporation? Yeah, I just read you the case law, Herbert. Like I said, that's 1795. It's not off the books. We feel so convenient with doing digital. You got to understand, they only went so far back. That's the whole point with this digital platform. Some things are still in paper, but your lawyers aren't using paper and digging it up no more. They're going to, and I've got a program. We had somebody especially write all the stuff that we go to. What are some of those sites? JustDealLaw.com. Come on, Benny, come on, help me out here, Benny. Darren, you know the sites? Oh, Benny can't talk. We just get to see his.
Oh shoot! Let's show you here. Hold on, I'm pulling something up for you.
What are some of the websites that are used? Just Steal Law.
Well, you gotta use what's the I'm trying to think off the top of my head. The number one, not Dun & Bradstreet, but it's called the oh man, you look up your stocks and everything on it.
NASDAQ?
No, not NASDAQ. What the hell is it called? Jesus almighty.
I know what you're talking about. The one site that people were going for their social security things, typing in and showing.
Correct.
That got taken down. They shut it down.
No, we can't do that. That place was a financial guru. I mean, you can't take that place down.
They blocked it out to like a members only membership, kind of like your credit thing with that shit. Instead of it.
Did they really?
Yeah. So that's a members only. And you get renamed on top of it.
There's a Fed number, right? That you whatever.
Yeah. There's a website where you can go and actually punch in your stock trades and everything else, and they did that kind of like some of the attorneys with sharing client information. They've got their own little secure little database, like some of created up with like My Case or a couple of the others that are out there. Wikipedia and Weblaw. There's a couple big name ones that the lawyers use too. Wex, yeah, there's another one, Wex Dictionary. Black's Law has got its own page. You got to understand how much they changed the wording from common law language to here, let's use Black's Law Dictionary, where it may mean this in slang or in common language, but we need to give it a legal definition or name. That's where you got to watch when you have terms and you don't believe me. It's because Vinny's got one. It's just hard to read there, Vinny. Free something. You're all blurry.
I didn't see you talking.
His thing's muted or something. He can't talk. You got to mute it?
I keep unmuting it for him. I don't know why he keeps going back. What the hell's going on here?
I don't know. Like I said, Vinny's
You're
running
unmuted now, right? Are you unmuted now?
Yep.
Not anymore. I can hear you now.
It's the U.S. Department of Interior, Judicial Courts and Case Law.
Mm-hmm. Hey, here's something. You know who stores all that information on case law and everything else and where it's at?
The federal court.
Well, there is a copy that is there, but believe it or not, it's U.S. Department of the Congressional Records. Federal case law and everything else is maintained with the Court of Records. So you can go to the Library of Congress and actually get federal case law is where federal case law is stored. Where your state stores it is on its state. That would be left at your capital.
Here's one. United States Sentencing Commission. Case law, United States Sentencing Commissions.
See, listen, guys, a lot of your cases, the issue is they start digging, they remove your kids, and then they want to do the investigation, or they'll do as little as possible. The idea of your first initial saying, they're going to the judge saying, there's something really wrong here. We need more time to investigate, but we need to protect the children. Okay, well,
Okay,
what is it?
all right, here we go. I got something for us to watch right here, Dan. How corporations became so powerful in 6 minutes. Here we go. So I'll check this out.
Spin it, DJ. Yeah, I'm showing my email. He's keying it up. It'll take him a minute. Listen, guys, this is why educating yourself is so
Go
important.
to any city, any town, and any rest stop in America, and you're bound to find the same old shopping centers with the same stores and the same gas stations and the same fast food as any other city.
Oh, for God's sakes.
How did just a few companies gain monopoly over the
I think your speed is a little bit too much broadcasting and playing.
Oh no, we're gonna shift it down right now.
Oh, and by the way, guys, sorry for the late start. We were just kind of go over a lot of things of case law and everything else, so we kind of got stuck. We'll try and keep more on time with our advertised time. We thank you guys for joining us this evening a little bit late. Yeah, we were a little slow, which means our viewers may be a little bit lower. Just bear with us. Once again, it's end of the night. We're doing the best
You know
we
which
can.
companies I'm
And
talking about. The
enjoy your
Coca-Colas,
following.
the Shells, the Comcasts, you name it. Hello everyone, Thought Monkey here. Today we'll be exploring how corporations came to be so powerful and how they have come to dominate our shopping centers and politics. First, a little bit of background about what a corporation is. The word corporation comes from the Latin word corpus, which means body of people. In fact, in ancient Roman law, corporate entities were recognized and even given protection under the law. Similarly today, by definition, a corporation is simply a group of people who have been authorized by law to act as a single legal entity. And while most of the time we use the word corporate negatively, corporations are not innately bad. They can be bad or good, just like people. However, over the past 100 years, corporations have gained certain legal rights that have allowed them to gain more and more power. Again, some use their power responsibly for good, while others recklessly for bad. Think Google versus ExxonMobil. Corporations today are super powerful for a number of reasons. First, corporations are allowed to create political action committees, or PACs for short, which are basically organizations that pool money from members and donate those funds to campaign for or against candidates, ballot initiatives, or legislation. For example, AT&T donated nearly $3 million during the 2016 campaign cycle on funding the campaigns of possible representatives they believed would put out legislation in AT&T's best interest. Second, corporations tend to spend a lot of money on lobbying in Washington in the hopes of influencing politicians on a particular issue. For example, the oil company ExxonMobil has spent over $200 million alone over the past 20 years on lobbying. Just in 2008, the company spent over $29 million in an effort to defeat legislation that addressed climate change. Not only do corporations donate millions of dollars to the politicians they know will act in their best interest, or spend hundreds of millions of dollars on expert influencers trying to get those politicians to sign or block legislation that will help or hurt their companies, but they also employ many revolvers, or people who were at one time government employees that now work for corporations, strengthening the connection between corporations and government further. Of the 29 registered lobbyists that work for ExxonMobil, 22 of them have at one time been government employees. You get the point. Of course, Exxon is just one example out of many. I don't know why I'm ragging on Exxon, but I am. And if you happen to be the CEO listening to this video, please don't come after me. I'm just using you as an example. Anyways, the point is that corporations and the government are tightly wound up within each other. So, how did this happen? Before the late 1800s, corporations were required to be public service organizations and have a stated public purpose. In other words, they were sort of a gift from a group of people to serve the public good. They were tightly controlled and very limited due to widespread public opposition. In fact, the common misconception is that the Boston Tea Party was a protest between the American revolutionaries and the King of England, but rather it was a protest by the Americans against the monopolization of the tea market by the East India Company. In the mid-1800s, during the Civil War and the Industrial Revolution, there was an explosion in the growth of corporations, and with it came the belief by corporate lawyers that they needed more power to operate. Their goal was to remove certain constraints that had been placed on the corporation. After the Civil War was fought and the 14th Amendment was passed, which was created to protect freed slaves and provide them with equal protection under the law, a case was decided in 1886 between Santa Clara County and the Southern Pacific Railroad, which gave corporations protection under the 14th Amendment, declaring them people. The decision read that the defendant corporations are persons within the 14th Amendment, which forbids a state to deny any person equal protection of the laws. Basically, the ruling gave corporations the right to enter into contract with other parties and sue, just like you and I can do. While the original intent of passing the 14th Amendment was to protect freed black slaves, between 1890 and 1910, there were 307 cases brought before the court under it. 288 of those cases were brought to the court by corporations, while only 9 of them by freed black slaves. President Lincoln predicted the growth and power of the corporation long before such a decision was passed by the Supreme Court when he wrote during the Civil War that corporations have been enthroned and an era of corruption in high places will follow, until all wealth is aggregated in a few hands and the republic is destroyed. I feel at this moment more anxiety for the safety of my country than ever before, even in the midst of war. Since 1886, there have been at least 11 more major decisions by the Supreme Court that have given corporations additional rights. The most recent 2 that have had a huge impact on our past 2 elections have been the 2010 Citizens United versus FEC, which declared that the government can't limit a corporation's political donations. And in 2014, the Burwell versus Hobby Lobby case that says that corporations can assert the religious rights of their owners. The point is that corporations used to look very different than they do today. Their evolution from tightly controlled entities that were meant to serve the public to massive companies that serve themselves first and have a major influence on the political direction of this country has been a slow yet steady process. Their power has come from the decisions of many court cases which have slowly granted them more and more power. The trend is not in the public's favor, rather the corporations'. The question remains, however, what now? How can the public limit the power of corporate influence in Washington? Well, the answer seems like it would be pretty simple. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe to stay updated with the most recent Thought Monkey videos.
Well, that was a little bit interesting, huh?
Well, now it begins to help you guys understand why they were calling for reform of lobbying, of campaign contributions, because you had corporations that were saying, I can't legally give you money, but I can donate $1 million to your campaign because it goes towards this particular thing. Then they came back on reform of putting caps on this. You can only do so much under this, this, and that. Doesn't mean that that's the corporation can give it. Then it goes back to individuals, because then some people say, well, individuals can give however much they want. But the problem is it has to be under the Constitution. It has to be about the people. It's not about who gives the most money, which is why lobbying should be completely stripped. It's okay to make your petitions known. Have a good oral argument, respect some boundaries, and above all, go by the guidelines of the Constitution that you're not going to violate anything on there for $1. That's called integrity. That's something that's very lacking in this country from a lot of people. People go in there that we elect a lot of times with great intentions, get caught up in the lobbying. And why? Because I want you to be the poster child, we'll say global warming. And all of a sudden, everything votes you have, because you pay so much now, you've been bought. Because now everything that comes out of your mouth, we pay you so much money a year to put ours out first. Whoever pays the most, that's the strongest impression that you're buying that vote. That's why lobbying should be cut, because you're not representing the people, You're representing the corporations. The corporations may pay a bunch of money, but if it's not good for the people in your district or the people that you represent, how is that going to be good? I mean, you want to go through a couple things? Well, let's look at some facts that we haven't. You go through global warming and the melting, the melting of the ice caps, and this. If that's true, there is a rock that is at a certain elevation that is sitting there. That if that was true, that those are rising, that those stones would be underwater. Those are, there's proven facts of things that are just, it's not true. It's naturally going to do this. It's, we go through the cycle, if you don't believe me, of water being water and then things being frozen. Well, it gets cold. Well, guess what? Hey, we have glaciers. Guess what else happens? It can get cold enough up there and everything else. It'll continue to freeze. It'll continue to freeze the lower you go in water. Guess you didn't know that one. It gets below zero when you go before water. It's not just the pressure you have to deal with, it's the cold. You don't believe me? Ask guys on a submarine. How do we mask keeping everything at a certain degree or temperature? There you go, Vinny. In other words, these are struggles that are well known and it's done within our sciences, but we tend to just throw out science and facts. Well, I don't care if it gets cold on a submarine or this, and that, and they can only mask it up to a certain thing to mimic the outside or ambient temperature of the water. And that's as low as we can go because of pressure and everything else. But because somebody's feelings got hurt, well, I don't think it needs to be thinner. I think it needs to use a thinner metal because of this. Because it's cost effective. Well, we went through that. What? They collapsed. They caved in on themselves. They're only good for so much. They have a rating for it. And there's an equation that uses mathematics that tells you how deep you can go versus pressure. We learned a lot for submarines and everything else. I mean, but we can use this same science and same thing with CPS and everything else that we've gone. But let's use some common sense, and the case law should be followed. But for over 40 years, guys, 40 years, that they have had a chance to run free and say, that doesn't apply to me, including the Constitution, that's a problem. Because that's somebody with no integrity, no moral compass, no nothing, that wants to destroy our country. Because when you attack the Constitution, you're attacking our country, the very fabric of our country. For those that want to circumvent the Constitution in any way, one, you're a traitor. Two, you commit treason. Two, or on three, you should be held accountable absolutely to the highest regards of this land for violating that Constitution. That goes for judges, lawyers, and anybody that goes in bed to violate constitutional things intentionally. I'm sorry. That's called treason.
Don't forget them. Don't forget them guardian ad litems, because they create treason too.
Absolutely. If they took and ran let's put it this way, if they went under the Constitution, really did the best for your children, they would protect your child's constitutional rights. One, to be left alone. Two, you have a constitutional right to be with your parents unless a crime has happened. If a crime's happened, then that's something different. For them to go after you in a civil fucking courtroom as though your property is horseshit.
Here's one for all of you to hear. Okay. So we did some digging, and I of course, being the person I am, I'm stuck here in this damn house all day long. I got lots of time on my hands. So I'm digging through stuff, and I'm looking at stuff, and I'm reading, and I'm going, okay, well, this, and then I put it all together. Okay, one, my daughter, before they took her, told her she objected to them taking her. Okay. Then, when they placed her up in the mental hospital, she objected then. Okay. So there's two objections. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to take her objection after 2 times of her giving you her objection? I don't think so.
Once again, the only way these courts operate is with our permission. And when we say if we object or we don't want to participate, here's the problem. It's supposed to stop. Because it's the only way the state courts operate or are allowed to operate is under contractual law. Now, yes, they have a contractual law in the criminal side as well as the civil side that the superior courts of the United States are the thing. In other words, they're supposed to follow the rules of the superior court. The inferior courts have to follow all the rules, not only for that, but even in the state and all the statutes for that. Why are you bringing in people that nobody's been harmed? You say somebody's been harmed, where's the criminal?
Yeah.
Once you're in the house, the only way you're doing something, have these people with CPS and this and that, is they're getting in your home. If they never came into your home, never questioned your children, unless there was a crime, there's the whole point. You don't even have the right to ask. There's the point that we're trying to make, and we're going to prove in federal court too. What gives you the right to ask? That's why they went to anonymous tips, because people weren't reporting to them. They were going broke. It was a shitty situation.
Too bad
Why?
for them.
Because they weren't making any money. And then you had presidents and stuff like Obama and Clinton, through some of their executive orders and some of the things that they did, that allowed them to have more money. Why? To traffic fucking kids. They were getting cuts of this through some of their corporations and everything. They're already finding some of those things out. There's people digging around with the Diddy thing that are finding out.
Oh yeah, I've been following that too. Yeah, they definitely are.
The charity organizations they have, the 501c's that they do with their little foundations that they do to do tax hiding money, to do all that other stuff of what they're doing. Oh yeah, they're involved in this. But all they got to do for a 501c is spend the money. Whether it's hiring another person in the corporation or foundation, what? Just to spend money. I got to prove I'm spending money to get money. And the only person that's doing that is right there, which is why the corporation. Now, let me tell you the difference between how this works business-wise. You have an individual that has a business, okay? Great product, whatever it is, manufacturing or anything else. You become an individual owner or an LLC, limited license corporation, okay, is what you're doing. It's a smaller corporation. It's a form of corporation. An LLC is a corporation of sorts. The difference between some of the LLCs that you'll have, limited liability companies, they're still companies, they're still entities. When you go corporate, means you have such a mass amount of stuff to possibly oversee, is one reason. The second is to open up, because in a corporation, you can sell shares. It gives you the ability, or for a company, to take and get this and that. Now, that has nothing to do with payroll. It has nothing to do with anything else. In other words, nobody owns it. They own shares. Shares are worth so much, they're traded on the stock market, okay? On an open company. You can have a closed share program, okay, to where a certain amount of certain individuals, let's put it this way. You get somebody that's just starting out, I'll use the Tracer example. Guy says, hey, listen, I'm tired of using this, or this guy's looking to retire. I want to do something, say, in plumbing. I don't have a good plumber, but I know a guy that's a good plumber. I want to bring him as a general contractor. I want to invest in your business for machinery, whether it's money for machinery, education, there's different subcategories or anything else. But the idea is, with those investments, it's to make that company grow and make more money. Now, the profit margins that come within that can be done to shareholders. That's why they go after. This is why this is so bad for the big shooting and everything that happened up in New York City. And this will explain how this is all tied together, even with CPS, because they were making money for shareholders on your insurance. They were denying people medical care because it wouldn't make a profit. They found a way to shave it. That doesn't matter. That's why that happened up there. They were shaving people's things and basically killing people, saying the value of $1 is higher than the value of a life. And they were doing it, and they were coming to that conclusion based off the decisions of the rejections of claims for them to pay it, that instead went to their shareholders, getting record numbers. Guys that are heads of this stuff, you're talking, they make billions of dollars a year. It's about money. There are some things we shouldn't put a price tag on, and we should regulate. One of them being, one of the things, is it a public service or not? One of those things that could happen is the medical industry, if there was a change, that it wasn't separate, it is overseen by the government. But one of the things is putting a cap on everybody's salary. In other words, nurses make the same. The biggest structure system I'm a big fan of, and this came up earlier. Matter of fact, my daughter is going to kind of like in school, interning a little bit of this for a surgical assistant for one of the top heart surgeons in the country. And she's going to school, and the doctor is just really working with. So when she got some of her grades and some of her terms, she ended up turning out with a 98% because of good teaching. But understand this, the way that they're doing is not a classroom setting. They're getting hands-on with book work side by side. Okay. This is the medical industry, but it's working. This is the same method that the trades have been using since the beginning of time. Come out here, let me teach you the book work, the math work, all the other stuff, and then practice it or so many hours hands-on doing it before I even get my next. In other words, there's a threshold in when you go from apprentice to a journeyman to a master. It's a step by step, and it all goes hand in hand with education and experience, right? So tell me why when some of them they do an internship for doctors and everything. Why is that so short? Why is it so quick? I just got to go through saying, and I could spend the rest of my life in trade. How long do you have to be a greenhorn with anything else? I mean, at least in the trades, 5 years. Now you're talking about the human body. Why is it so short? And then they don't get paid anything because it's an internship because they make so much money. You wouldn't believe the benefits doctors and lawyers and a couple others are actually are in bed with the financial department. You could be a doctor, graduate law school, doing your residency, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. Is the point when you're a doctor and you're doing your internship, you don't get paid. There's one thing, they don't pay nothing. You're doing your internship. After that, you become a resident. Or some of them say, I'm doing my residency. They'll do an internship when they first get out of med school. Then they'll go in. Some of them try to combine it by doing both at the same time. But the point is that it's required to have so much book work and so much hands-on experience that you're not getting. A lot of lawyers, you just go get out of law school, you go take the bar exam, you're free. You're an attorney. Now you have a choice. You can go work for a firm or go work by yourself. You have options. But there's no training. But see, that's where the bar comes in. Well, I only have a state license. What if my case takes a federal turn? I'm sorry, I can't handle that. Then you're not good enough for my case. Then why are family lawyers out there collecting all the money when a lot of us out here are realizing we have constitutional issues? Let's just cause and effect. Because of the Rooker versus Feldman case. Rooker versus Feldman case says that they will not hear federal court will not hear family law cases. Now they will hear constitutional law, so you can circumvent it if you have constitutional rights issues. What we were talking about the earlier, the codes and everything else, USC codes, they're supposed to be following, is if you bring up during your family court case, you have a constitutional issue or a federal issue, that court no longer has jurisdiction, and those things need to be addressed. Why? They are pertinent to your case. Because all of them are supposed to be following. But now CPS has declared themselves under the Chevron doctrine as being professionals with child abuse and this and that. We get to pick and choose what laws we do. There are police departments that come around. Well, we're law enforcement. We're specialists in this, that, or I'm a specialist. I'm part of the special victims unit. So this, I'm just not an ordinary cop. I'm a specialist. That goes for all the guys on patrol or doing parking tickets. That's for them to follow. I'm a specialist. I get to get by with that. And the court has recognized it because as soon as they quote that state law or that case law under Chevron, which they were doing, if you go back and research it, it didn't fall their way because they were professionals and they didn't have to abide by the law. That's what 40 years has been happening to us. Almost some of us greater than our lifetime or part of our lifetime, but some of you, it happened before it even was put into effect. But that's how much damage it did because it's coming after the family. The point with CPS is, and the way they were designed, unless I call you myself, you're not supposed to be knocking on my door because you're considered friends of the court. You have no authority to even come knock on my door till the states gave them permission. When the states did that, well, we need to see in the home. Guess what they printed in every state's fucking handbook? We have a right to come in your home. Well, my Fourth Amendment says otherwise. Matter of fact, federal case law says otherwise. Well, that doesn't apply here. We're just going to do it. And if you want, you could take that to a federal case after we've already destroyed your life and your finances. Now you can recoup from our error. Why does it even exist? It shouldn't exist. There's the whole point. That's why it's unconstitutional. what you're doing breaks the law. Well, I've been trained to do this, or that's part of our policy and procedure. Or like Herbert was saying, well, I now have to investigate this case. Well, guess what? Your need for an investigation doesn't trump my constitutional rights. So your job, so to speak, you can't do your job because it's unconstitutional by the way and method you're doing it. Knocking on my door, coming into my house, questioning my children on private property under federal case law is a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. It's already established. It's never been overturned. So why haven't they made the change? Because it's about money and they count on people being ignorant of the law. You're not going to start going down these law trails till you end up in a case to where you're pinned in a corner. And you're looking for a solution. And your lawyers ain't giving you shit. Why? Well, they're only elected in the state. We can only do what the state allows us to do. So you're not even going to deal with this? No, because they'll tell you the same thing like the judge told me. We don't deal with constitutional rights issues in this courtroom. Well, now that you've noticed it, Your Honor, that's a change in jurisdiction.
I gotta get off here soon, guys, because I gotta be up early for physical therapy.
Billy's getting the PT.
He's getting shut down.
But that, hey,
let's do some last thoughts. I don't know what happened to Mr. Bain. We'll get in touch with him for tomorrow. We're gonna give me like 20 minutes after the show and let's hook up.
Yeah, definitely, because I got a text from that other person today that I gave you the info from.
Yep.
She's just trying to wrap up a few things, and all the pieces are falling together for us, guys. I mean, on our big case that's coming out this next year, don't think we ain't filing, and don't think we ain't coming for CPS and all of them. That's it.
We ain't gonna win either.
So, guys, last thoughts. I'll go ahead and start with it.
Sure.
Guys, educate yourself. Know your rights. Know your Constitution. And under no case, no circumstances, no nothing are those rights ever suspended even for a minute. They're going to lie to you, and they're going to manipulate you to make you believe those things. That's the power of psychology. But when you know that you know that you know, fight for it. I guarantee you, your children will be better off. Your community would be better off. Matter of fact, this country would be better off if we went just back to it. And I think our hand's going to be forced here in this new administration. That's all I'm saying. It's going to happen one way or another.
Yes, sir. You get that right. Herbert.
Don't let anybody into your home unless they have a court order signed by a judge. Otherwise, you advise individuals that you're not letting them in.
I'm going to add to Herbert's not only a court order signed by a judge, but it must have the court's seal to be a legal document.
Yep.
Every state is different. I researched that.
Which one? Are you saying
every state. Now, if you're saying federal government, yeah. If it's federal, it's every state. But every state, as far as that judge, whether it's a stamp, raised stamp, no raised stamp, or just a signature, every state is different.
So whoa. I'm gonna break this rule here that we talked about here. Hold on a minute. So let's talk about this really quickly. If Supreme Court if the Supremacy Clause rules out everything,
there it goes.
Means that ultimately everything is controlled by the Supreme Court's laws. So why do the state laws even exist? What's the point of these, right?
That's a good point, because the state doesn't have the right to follow or not follow federal law. Correct. They have. That's where, Herbert, you made a point.
No, state has to follow federal.
This is what we're saying.
State has to follow federal law.
Exactly, but what you're saying
if state follows federal law, we can't have recreational marijuana. Every state is different.
We, the people, have spoken.
Well, once again, Herbert, you alone should be just overturned with anything on that law, with, we'll say, marijuana being legal here and there, due to the fact that federally it was passed of being illegal, due to the fact that it was black people stealing away the white women, is why they made it illegal. If you don't believe me, go look at it.
Yep. Yeah, I
Are
saw
you
that.
referring to Jim Crow laws?
No, marijuana. Marijuana was considered an illegal substance off of the sole basis that the blacks were giving it to the white women and that it needed to be considered illegal because it was stealing the white women and going across the lines. It was racist as hell. Why that law is still on the book, Howard, as a justifiable reason to make it illegal, other than the fact it's found to be have so many properties and the things that we've uncovered by the states doing it is finding out all the benefits. We don't need the petroleum-based medicines. You can pull this from it. Hell, you got CBDs that are doing more than Tylenol and let alone a few other things. And now they're starting to pull shit off the shelves as false medicines.
Okay,
Why? Because
I have my pen. I have pen and pencil ready. Give me that law so I can look it up.
what?
About the black people with the marijuana stealing the white women.
The Library of
What,
Congress. Go to the original thing before they outlawed.
What am I looking for? Tell me what to look for.
Congress, you can Google in there, look under what was the bill that Congress made marijuana illegal in the United States, and you can look up that as well as the senators and everybody else. The arguments go through that. There's a whole history. It's not hard to find, and it will go down there and it will tell you that was the reason the senator that sponsored the very bill said that the reason they're making marijuana illegal is because of all these, and didn't use a nice word either, Howard, that they're stealing our white women away from our men and bastardizing our children and grandchildren and our future generations. That's why they passed it over racism.
So basically, I want to say why was marijuana made illegal?
Because the black guys
That's
were getting
that's it in a nutshell. When I do my search, I'm going to say why was marijuana made illegal?
you want the original congressional bill.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying when I look it up, I'm gonna look.
Just look up the original congressional bill that made marijuana illegal.
I'm gonna look up the original congressional bill. I'm gonna look up the original congressional. I'm writing it down. Bill regarding marijuana.
Yep.
Regarding marijuana.
Illegal.
It says right. So listen up. In the 1930s, Harry J. Anslinger, head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, turned the battle against marijuana into an all-out war. Some believe that he was motivated less by safety concerns. The vast majority of scientists he surveys claim that the drug was not dangerous, and more by a desire to promote his newly created department. Whatever the impetus, Anslinger sought a federal ban on the drug, and at this end he initiated a high-profile campaign that relied heavily on racism. Anslinger claimed that the majority of pot smokers were minorities, including African Americans, and that marijuana had a negative effect on these degenerate races, such as inducing violence or causing insanity. Furthermore, he noted, reefer makes darkies think that they're as good as white men. Perhaps even more worrisome to Anslinger was pot's supposed threat to white women's virtue. He believed that smoking pot would result in their having sex with black men. Aided by an eager news media and such propaganda films as Reefer Madness in 1936, Anslinger eventually oversaw the passage of the marijuana 37. So there it is.
That sounds racist.
That comes from Encyclopedia Britannica.
I'm going to ask you something.
That sounds very racist.
So, Howard, why is...
I'm going to tell you something. Let me say this to you, Gunner. Gunner, as a police officer, when I've stopped people who were under the influence of marijuana, they were so slow. Never, ever, ever did I ever have a violent situation with anybody with marijuana. My situations with people on alcohol.
Gunner didn't
if they
write
were
this
on
article.
No, I know Gunner did. I'm just talking about what I heard in the article about the violence and everything. And I'm saying people when they're high on marijuana, they are so slow.
So Howard, I'm going to ask you a serious question. You guys fought
as
far as what you were dealing with. Yes, you dealt with Martin Luther King and civil rights within the black community. My question is this: why has not the black community sought after those laws, such as laws like Jim Crow laws, This is very similar to it. The reason you made it illegal was based on the color of their skin, not on the things from here, because there's no factual to it. If the foundation of passing that had to do with color, then and there's no harm to anything, and they're saying that, and we know that's not true. Therefore, there's no truth in the statement to even pass the law. Why hasn't that particular community come out and says we want to take and file against that case and have it repealed, because this is the basis on the basis of racism? If the basis for passing a law is based on racism, it's supposed to be null and void, Howard, is it not? According to the Constitution, under civil rights, we're all equal. We can't divide under race or color or anything.
Herbert.
There's my.
It's been divided. There's divisions. There has been divisions, and I can't answer your question why they didn't fight at that time. I can't answer that, but I'm just saying there's lots of divisions involved here.
But why? My question is why don't you have people that have spoke up that you got to a certain point, and with this in the community, and this is my question as a community, as I have a heritage, like I said, of Irish and this and that, I keep an eye on that. My question is, people with the ethnic group of it that they have labeled an ethnic group with lies and perpetuation, you would think that you would want to shake off those misnomers, as what Darren stated. Anybody that smokes pot is a degenerate and lazy like this and not equal to a white man. That's pretty messed up. To label somebody like that under a bill, that goes into what you were trained to have, Herbert, as far as the police department.
Yes.
Your training. That anybody that smokes pot is a no good degenerative part of life. And they don't do anything, and they're violent and this that. You've already said yourself.
But that sounds like
it's bullshit.
Okay. Darren, what year was that you said? What was the year of that, what you were reading?
1937.
Darren.
Yeah, it said.
Gunnar, what year did Darren say that he was reading?
1930s.
Okay. 1937. Jim Crow laws were alive and well.
The answer.
Jim Crow laws didn't stop until the 19th.
Listen to the answer.
Yeah. So,
Marijuana Tax Act in 1937.
Okay, 1930s, 40s, 50s, right up into the early 60s. Right.
So
okay. So I'm saying from the 30s to the 1960s was Jim Crow law.
Okay, so once again, if they were Jim Crow laws, why wasn't this law repealed?
I lived during Jim Crow laws. I know what Jim Crow laws are.
So that's what I'm saying. If this law was passed under a Jim Crow initiative, which it clearly states it is, and any person within common sense or common law or common hearing, that's racist. And you're saying they're using this as this, and this is the reason to make it illegal. Not that it was harmful, and the list of things they said were harmful, we now know is a fucking lie. Because at the same time,
exactly,
the pothead hurt is a refrigerator or a cupboard. They don't go out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that, Gunnar. That's why I said it's racist when I listened to it. I said that's racist, and it sounds like under Jim Crow laws. And what people should do that are listening is just go to Google and Google up Jim Crow laws.
I'm not arguing that. I'm agreeing.
And it didn't end until about Jim Crow laws didn't end until about 1963. Yeah, but I'm saying the Jim Crow laws didn't go to the wayside till about 1963.
Okay, Howard, how many? And when you were working police up in New York, how many cases of marijuana did you take and charge somebody with? Or were you found something and then went to a case? And
a hell of a lot.
Okay. What I'm saying is imagine all that revenue the state has now collected, saying it's illegal for being black people stuff, and that's the reason for it. And now you're catching a case over something we have found out it's not harmful, it's helpful. Shouldn't we reverse all those things and get people out of jails and everything else for something that's not harmful, but we're still penalizing people because it's the black man's real estate and this and that? Because it's not on the right basis.
Yes.
We need to appeal.
Yeah, but the black man, I don't see how they thought. I don't see how they throw the black man into this because we were arresting people on marijuana seeds, and they weren't black.
Like I said, now hold on, Howard. You heard what he said.
All right, guys, let's finish up
The
our last word.
equivalency to a white man doing stuff was the same as a black man. They degraded a white man for doing it.
We'll do this some other place.
It didn't make a difference whether you were black or white.
What's your last
If you had marijuana, you got arrested.
Benny, last words.
My last words are this. I hope you all have a good evening. Remember that we are fighting for our children and for ourselves as well, because these people are just demolishing us inside and out. If you need help throughout the holidays, reach out to one of us. We are there for you to listen. If you want, you can hit up the hotline. Darren will probably give that out. He usually does that, so I'll leave it to him.
All right, perfect. All right, guys. You know what? I don't care if you're black, white, girl, boy, yellow, pink, blue, green, sick, one arm, two legs, one arm, whatever the hell you are. It doesn't matter. This whole fight is about saving these kids, and that's what needs to be kept in mind. This is all about getting.
Well, I thought the whole thing was about CPS getting the kids back.
I swear to God, he doesn't listen. And sometimes if you don't interrupt people, Herbert, you would hear what the rest of they're going to say is, but you get so jumpy, you don't listen. And that's some sort of a lesson that you should be teaching the younger people, not us younger ones teaching the older. But nonetheless, I want everybody just to focus on getting their kids home. Like Benny said, if you're having a hard time for the holidays, there's a 988 number that you can call to help you out with that. If you can call one of our numbers, if we answer, we answer. If not, call that 988 number, because like is being said, don't become a statistic, because your kids are coming home for you guys. One day they will come back, and if you're not there for them, boy, what a travesty that would be, that they waited 18 years to see mom and dad, and because they couldn't handle it, they took themselves out. So don't let them have that as a answer to their 18-year question. So everybody, we'll figure out what went on with Mr. Bain. We'll all see you guys tomorrow night, same time, same place. Have a good one.
Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem.
They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with dad out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem. Stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again. CPS comes along with the mission to protect. The only thing they are doing is cashing in those checks, paid for by the souls of the children. Diagnosed by a caseworker who is still a baby herself. They take away the fathers, leaving just the mom and cubs. They know that with dad out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem. Stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again. Save me, I can't save myself. Save me, this is my cry for help. Save me, I can't save myself. Save me, this is my cry for help.
I hear you loud and clear. I'm a patriot and I'm a patriarch, but I'm a father first and I'ma play that part. Gonna stand for mine, never bow or buckle there for anybody that ever get in trouble. Yeah, storm is brewing, I can see them clouds, hear the children crying, baby, clear it loud. Shine a light on shadows, I'ma clear them out. Don't wanna hear the truth, you better hear them now, for it hits home and it's too close to the night of facts that you've been running from. I made it through hell just to show and tell all the lost ones where I've been coming from. My number one is my household and my family, always been my saving grace. There's a war right now and it's taking place, and you bite your tongue so you saving face. I'ma yell it loud, this my battle cry on this battlefield. I'll take my consequence. Yeah, it's common sense. When it's good and evil, you can't ride the fence. That's some coward shit. I'll take them hits and I'll throw them blows. I'll lose it all to save their innocence. I'll deliver this with some diligence, cause your ignorance makes us different.
Save me, I can't save myself. Save me, this is my cry for help. Save me, I can't save myself. Save me, this is my cry for help.
Loud and clear. Took the blindfold off of these blurry eyes, gonna be a horror story where the scary dies. Angels fly with their guns out, causing hell of fire when Mother Mary cries. I heard the lies, but I seen the truth. They gonna silence you if you bring the proof. They gon' call you crazy when you call them out. They try to box us in, but we can box them out. Don't dare ask me what I'm talking about. If you ain't listened yet, then you'll never hear it. We gon' pray to God and we gon' stand up. Got an army here, I know the devil fear. Yeah, the future's clear when you know the past. And that train is coming and it's rolling fast. Gotta fix the path that's on a broken track. There's no time for us to be holding back. No, we need some leaders to wake up the sleepers. Make believers out of non-believers. Let freedom of speech ring through the speakers. Take the filthy rich to the cleaners. Shine our light, baby, high beamers. Don't let sex crimes be a misdemeanor. Protect these babies from these sickening creatures. I refuse to sit and watch from the bleachers.